now, and I do have, no, I've got one more. Deliver the mic to JR, would you please?
I know I'm not as good as Sheila.
Okay, just put it on your calendars. Crab Feet is February 1st. That's a Friday. How many of you went last year or just the last one? It was a great time. We had a lot of fun. And this one coming up, I promise, will be even better. This does take a lot of people helping. It's not a lot of work, but it's a little bit of work. So I'm looking for people to step up and help with this. You won't regret it. You'll have a great time doing it and meet a lot of people and really get to know other Rotarians. Our first meeting will be October 17th. That's a Wednesday at the Travel Bug, 6 o'clock. So if you can make it, just to give your ideas, or if you want to step in and help and have fun with some really great people, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
JR, when is it again?
The event is February 1st. It's a Friday.
Thanks a lot. Okay, our very own Dr. Phil, would you please come?
Okay, last week, I told you that the membership pilot club committee. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Last week, I told you that the membership pilot club committee and the board of directors is recommending two changes in the associate member category. One was to remove financial sort of constraints on you as a reason for getting this category, and the other is to make the associate member category available only to current members of the club. This requires a bylaws change. It's a change in Article 13, Section 1E. Does anyone wish me to read this to you? No. Okay. Then I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor of making this bylaws change, please raise your hand. You have a comment?
Yeah, I do have comments, Phil, thank you. This is like a bad penny, this whole issue on our membership. This is about the, third time it's come back before the general membership. Initially, under the pilot program, the club was really happy to have an expanded membership category that allowed us to include more people in the club. So I'm not sure why we're changing this. We only have, to my knowledge, one member in this category, and I can't believe that changing it, or changing the language in it, is somehow or another going to make the club a more open club and allow us to have more members. So before we vote, if it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion that we table the whole issue.
Seconded. What is the effect of tabling it?
Tabling it is just, we're not going to vote on it.
Use the mic. So it'll just be the way
It'll
it
just
was?
be the way it is.
What this is leaves it like it is until the board comes forth again, if it wants to make this proposal again. But this tabling either goes up or down. You can refuse to do it. So it's up to the club members. Any discussion? Yes,
How long, when is the?
Microphone.
come on, Michael.
We were let the pilot program to run its course, which was, I think, where this all came about. How much longer is that? Is it 2 years?
It's just under 2 years.
Just under 2 years.
Yes.
Because my understanding was when we adopted to do this, and that was an approved program, that we would let it run its course and then we would evaluate it. And unless there's some horrible effect that we've caused ourselves in the first year by allowing this membership, I think we should run the course of the pilot program and then make a determination if it stays or goes.
Well, there's another thing that happens is Rotary International will evaluate this change that we've made also at the end of the 3-year period. And it may or may not allow us to keep that category. So it's not just up to the club. Rotary International will have to change its own bylaws to make this happen. Yes,
Next time I
Tom?
film for Sheila, I'm gonna wear a dress, make it a little bit easier on me.
Would that reflect poorly on the club?
Actually, I have a question for Ron Scott and for Kimberly. As a member of the Pilot Club Committee, at our meeting, the discussion was that we were not going to remove this category, but we're going to take out one word, which was for financial reasons, take the finances out of that clause, which we felt would open it up a bit more to more of our members if they needed to change their status. At the same time, though, it wasn't going to be designed for incoming people who are joining Rotary. So is that your concern, that it's not going to be inclusive of people coming into the club?
Well, my concern is that we've lost a couple of long-term members recently that were because of financial concern.
I agree, and I think that was what we talked about that, and that we wanted to keep this, and we discussed why that wasn't extended to the two people that you're talking about. And I think there was a discussion about trying to use this classification more. Is that your recollection, Phil? That we were gonna try and use it more often. So the change is really not to get rid of it anymore, but to take the term finance out. It doesn't mean that it's not gonna come into play on that, but there was some reason for that. Kathy Farrell can explain what the reason for that.
Someone pull up the bus?
So, Kathy, I guess I have another question, and that is,
That's why I passed it to her.
what does the new language say? I mean, what does it say that the old one didn't say, and how does it change it?
I understand. This is what it looks like when you've been under the bus, by the way. I was trying to help.
Oh, well, you're healthy.
Actually, Kathy did a very good job of explaining.
Can't hear you.
Kathy did a very good job of explaining. We're not changing or we're not eliminating the category. I think that should be clear at this point. What we're doing is we're fine tuning it essentially by removing the financial designation. And the reason is that we have members who you may be referring to, and we all know a few of them who have left, but they didn't necessarily leave for financial reasons. And we want to be able to court those people back to the club. But we want the board to be able to invite those people back. We don't want this to be a category where if you want to join Rotary and you are unwilling to pay the membership, then you could somehow be eligible for membership. And I think that sets up a double standard. And those of us who are paying the full amount, and we gratefully contribute, would be paying at a different rate than someone coming in who would not be willing to pay at that rate. And so that kind of set up a problem for the board. It wasn't that we were trying to discourage certain people from not attending. It just means that, how do you balance that against the greater membership who are paying a much higher fee? And so this allows us to attract certain people back into the club who may have left. And they may have left for financial reasons. We just don't want that to be spelled out in the category. However, as I think Phil was going to point out, the board has every right to say, we recognize you've had a financial problem and we want to bring you back in as an associate. The board still has that flexibility. It's just not mandatory. And that's really the only thing that changed.
I guess my concern is that by making the changes, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the board have to make that decision under the existing rules, whether or not somebody could be in that category? And doesn't the board review that every year?
Yes.
And make changes to that?
And you have to reapply every year.
Right.
And if you applied originally under the financial category, let's call it that, you have to reapply the following year. And so what that says is your unusual financial circumstance has continued. And you're going to remain a member ongoing in that unusual financial circumstance. And that just doesn't seem necessary. The board has the right to say, and probably would say, you know, you've made contributions in other ways, and we want to retain your membership. We want to be able to do that. We want to keep those valuable people, even though they've had this unusual occurrence.
See, I think the existing language covers just that specifics.
Let
But
me
also,
resolve.
Wait a minute, Ralph. Sorry, Phil. Also, doesn't the language change that says you have to be an existing member preclude the board from going back and asking the people that have dropped out of the club to come back into that
I see where
category?
he's going with that.
Let me read you one sentence, the first sentence in this, and I think it'll answer your question.
Okay.
This type of membership is for those current and past club members who, for business or other reasons, found to be good and sufficient by the board, are not able to remain an active member of the club and yet want to participate in club and Rotary activities. So the board is able to ask past members. Past members can apply for this position. But they must have either be a member or a past member of the club to apply. And the board can use any reason that it thinks is reasonable. The board still has that freedom.
It actually gives them more flexibility.
John?
We want people that are not members of Rotary to support Rotary, and this Friends of the Livermore Rotary Club is a very popular idea, and a lot of people can join that. We have 3 or 4 that are willing to do that, and so they can be called friends and help a lot, and that can go, we can ask the mayor and all kinds of people to be a friend. But now to be a member, we feel that, an associate member, we feel it should be somebody that has been through Rotary, knew Rotary, understood Rotary, because saying you're a member, even an associate member, implies a certain amount of prestige. Now, we want all of the past Rotarians, anybody that wants to join, as an associate that no longer wants to be inactive, that's great, and there's no problem with that. It's just for the broader people, all the other people that want to come in, we feel that they should be called Friends of the Livermore Library, Rotary Club. The library, huh? Friends of the Livermore Rotary Club. So that, frankly, I see no problem with having 2. It's a little more prestigious to be an associate member, and that'll be for past Rotarians. And then to be a friend is just for everybody. And I think I have no problem with those 2 classifications. But I don't think people should be called a member, or even an associate member of Rotary that hasn't been through Rotary and understands it and gone through all the things that we do to become a member. So that's what we're doing. I interview everybody that quits Rotary, and they all said, yeah, I'd love to be a friend of the Livermore Rotary Club. But now we can say you can become an associate member, and I think some of them would rather do that. It's nothing. There's nothing to argue about. It's a good idea, and I think we should not table it. And I think we should vote yes on it.
Mike Thompson?
My original thought was that an associate member was a way of attracting new people to the club who couldn't attend all the meetings, willing to pay, but couldn't attend all the meetings, but would work on events and work on other things. I had such a member. He should have been in 2 months ago. That was the program, as I understood, that was in effect put forward by the pilot committee, and then suddenly it's off the table. The Friends of Rotary, do they pay, or they just?
They pay also.
They pay, and they're all willing to work, just like an associate would.
Okay.
And then we can be much broader. We can bring a lot of people in that way.
All right.
Unfortunately, there's been a lot of misunderstanding about what the categories are. The vast majority of the success we've had in the last year of attracting new members have been to the active engaged category.
That's the category.
And that is a functioning, successful category, and we support it completely. We have many members who qualify for that, and they want to be in the club under that circumstance. The associate has nothing to do with attracting new people who don't want to spend the time or can't spend the time. It was a completely different objective. And we're saying that none of that has gone away. We still want to attract those people, but they are not members if they're not going to be here, if they're not going to participate with the rest of us. And there's also a financial aspect to this. Associate members do not pay anywhere near the dollar amount that the rest of you pay. So, you know, that has an issue as well, and that needs to be addressed.
And the friends pay as well.
Friends pay, but they're not members, they're not regular contributors. They are essentially a mailing list of people we want to court to become members. If they don't want to become a member, that's fine too. They can participate in the crab feed. They can do all of the things that are essential to the community and to the community of Rotary. But they don't necessarily want to sit with us every week. And they should not have the authority to vote with us. They shouldn't have any of the same privileges that you and I have. And I think that's what we're really getting at here. Now, I know Stu's been very patient and he's wanted to add.
Let's let Phil finish his.
Let him speak.
About 5 minutes from closing.
I understand. I think this is struck for the right reasons, an emotional chord in the club. And I think the question is best summed up. What is a Rotarian with respect to membership and financial obligation? And I initially raised my hand and pushed experimenting in membership with all of you, thinking that's great, we're aging, we're graying. This last year has caused me to deeply reflect. When I look around a table, I'm at an event helping, I'm doing charity work, what is a Rotarian? And a Rotarian meets, in my opinion, the core obligations of being a Rotarian, which is commitment, both financial, personal, and philosophical, to the four-way test. I don't personally like the idea of a junior anything who pays something less, and if you go down the slippery slope, do we put yellow badges on them? And I feel I mentioned that to you in an email. Well, you can't have, in my opinion, a caste system in Rotary and spin the numbers out 30 years when many of us are gone and have a club of fragments and be a Rotary club. I love the Friends idea. We can bring people to meetings whenever we want and to fundraisers and civic activities, but why are we stratifying the membership? My question was going to be, before all the comments was, would a substitute motion be available? Because I would move, and you already have a motion on the floor, I would move that the program be stopped for associate and the people in the program be given 60 or 90 days notice to become a full member or leave the club. I mean, it was an experiment. There was no promise or obligation that you would continue it even past the 2 years. It's become a swamp. Even fiscal conditions is a swamp for any future board to make that determination. Why don't we just admit this experiment is all but fizzled, and let's just end it. Thank you.
Bill, last question.
Mine is just procedural. We had a motion, you made a motion, Phil, then we had a motion to table. So then we started debating the motion. So I'm not sure where we are. What are we going to vote on? Usually you
We're
got
going to vote on tabling this issue.
Okay, and
I call for the question.
actually tabling is
Table or
not
not table?
debatable. If we're doing Robert's rules, and so if tabling is what we're talking about, then we
should
need
go
to
ahead and vote.
clear that, don't we? Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Okay, all those in favor of tabling this discussion, please raise your hand.
That's the majority.
I get 29. All those against this motion, please raise your hand.
Against the motion?
Against tabling this discussion. Only 25, so the tabling wins, and this discussion is tabled. Next issue, second change to the bylaws, which is to establish the Friends of Livermore Rotary. And this adds an Article 17 to the bylaws, and we presented this whole idea of Friends of Livermore Rotary to you 2 or 3 weeks ago. And is there a motion to approve this? What it actually does is the bylaws change enables the board to establish a Friends of Livermore Rotary. It's not established in the bylaws, it just gives the board the right to do this.
I'm so moved.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that this be done. Any discussion of this bylaws change?
This is very common in a lot of Rotary clubs, isn't it?
This is very common throughout the world. All right, I see no discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those against? Thank you, that motion is approved. I was going to tell you something about Rotary Foundation, but I see we're out of time. So all I'm going to do now is remind you about the District Avenues of Service, which is going to be held on Thursday, the 25th of October, from 5 to 9 p.m. at the DoubleTree Hotel in San Jose near the airport. Everyone is invited to attend. That includes your guests and spouses or partners. Anyone can come. Especially invited are directors and committee chairs of this club, because you'll learn a lot through separate training seminars for each avenue of service. There also will be a speaker at the dinner following these sessions, Cliff Docterman, who, if ever you've heard of this man, he's been to the club before. He's a really outstanding speaker, and you would really gain, I think, from being there. The dinner costs $40 for club members. The club will pay for it. You would have to pay for your spouses, that's all. Thank you.
I thought there was another item concerning the findings. Jim,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun bucks.
I thought that was an issue for the
Doesn't require a vote. It's not a voting issue.
You're welcome to come to a board meeting. Next one coming up, I don't know what the date is, but that would be a time to express things that you want.
We're not going to be able to complete all the agenda
Have to
items.
wait
That
till
was
then.
one of them.
It's not something that we can vote on.
Well, it's going to be discussion.
I was told it was going to be a discussion.
Well, we're out of time.
This is very irregular. I was told there was going to be a discussion
Okay, if
regarding the
everybody's
assembly.
willing to stay another 5 minutes.
No, that's not. Just do it next week.
Next week? Okay.
You're burying an issue. You can't do that.
Okay, well, we'll give you time next week to talk about that a little bit. Hey, just to leave on this note, today is the oldest you've ever been, yet the youngest you'll ever be. So enjoy the day while it lasts. Let's